Hey, this is Keena B, and welcome to Say Anything. Say anything.
Why can't you just say anything?
I'm gonna say anything.
People just say anything.
I swear, people just say anything.
Welcome to Say Anything with Keena B.
Hey, this is Say Anything with Keena B. I am Keena B. Thank you so much for joining me. And today I have with me Charles Rimbia, my husband.
Hello, everybody.
Isn't he handsome? We are going to talk about the polarization of art that is happening in politics. Now, art has always been used in politics as a way to either further a particular point of view or deny a particular point of view, propaganda, or to protest as a part of rebellion, as a part of advocacy. But interestingly enough, it is historically known that art can be suppressed when by authorities, typically when they are trying to get a particular point across that they do not want people to think certain things or to have certain views in society. And so as of right now in the US, what's happening is the current presidential administration is making it mandatory for states to eliminate certain art on federal levels and on state levels in order to continue receiving funding. And what it is it's related to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so anything that has to do with basically the achievement or advancement of Black Americans, Brown Americans, any type of minority, quote unquote, minority group, is being, for all intents and purposes, erased slowly and methodically, either by not allowing it to be shown in like the Smithsonian or particular museums, or by requiring states to eliminate certain projects so that it's just not there. You just don't see it. Like I want to say that I recently read where they are eliminating references to military personnel that were Black, and these are really major historical references, but they're eliminating them from museums and things like that. People who've had true major impact. And then on a actual micro level, they're coming into the state, and the crosswalk issue is becoming prevalent here in Florida. The governor has requested, or actually not requested, mandated that areas that want to continue to receive federal funding have to paint over the crosswalks that have colored their crosswalk areas. And at first, I believe it was targeted toward the LGBTQ community. There was a mural in Orlando for the victims of the shooting there, and they have eliminated. They keep painting over it or paving over it, and then of course advocates are going back out and they're putting stuff down to bring it back every single time. Well, additionally to that, they are now saying, hey, everywhere there's a colorful crosswalk, you need to get rid of it. And a lot of those crosswalks had nothing to do with the LGBTQ mural. Right. Well, first of all, why are you eliminating a mural? That's honoring those who were killed. It's a memorial. It was meant to honor a group of people who were loved and be loved, and were citizens of the state. They're not random people. They were living in that city. They were killed unjustly. It was wrong, and they were memorialized in that way. But the other crosswalks are safety issues. They actually were using color in order to bring attention to the fact that it was a pedestrian crosswalk and to eliminate and to lower the speeding, because what they did is they realized that people were speeding less once they put color in it, because they recognized that there is something there and that there were less pedestrian accidents with vehicles by doing that. So there's actual statistics to show that lives are being saved, people are slowing down, and so on. So I guess the question is, what do we do about it? Or is what is first your opinion?
Well, it is unfortunate that that is happening, because the current atmosphere drives towards anything that highlights or that makes any member of the minority groups. This includes people of color or like LGBTQ community, for example. Basically, there's a lot that's targeting, eliminating anything that either helps those groups or those populations, or just shrink them or get them off the limelight as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily painting over sidewalks, like you said. Statistically, it reduces accidents, but just because those colors align with a minority they don't like, then you have to paint over it. You start removing names of references to army personnel that were black. What are you doing? That's just blatant racism.
Mm-hmm.
You want people to look a particular color in the country. It's just, and yeah, not to get political. I think if anybody else did that, especially if it was a Democrat who did that, something like that, it will be all over in our faces. So I don't know what we do about it. I don't know. We keep fighting, because the atmosphere is just bad. It's the same with I think the United States put out of what's that UN agency? I don't know if it's UNESCO or UNICEF. One of them has to do with culture and heritage. Because some people benefit from those programs. It's about preserving culture and heritage of minorities. So because there's just even a drop of minority in there, the whole thing has to be done away with. Like the United States put away from it.
So they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and that's a bad analogy, really, because this is nothing. Everything they're throwing out is good. The bathwater is good too. So I mean, but they're throwing out everything, and it's just like they're not even being nuanced about it. And there's no winning side to it. You're just being blatantly, like as you said, blatantly racist at this point, blatantly discriminatory.
Yeah, it's racist, and it's really not helping because this country has thrived on diversity a lot. The idea of discouraging, let's say, example, student visas, like foreign student visas, just a way of stopping, just cancel the whole thing, because you have a huge chunk of students coming from the minority. But this is also how this country gets the best brains out of there. Harvard will bring the smartest minorities out there. They bring them, they get educated there, and they get introduced to the American workforce. It's helping this country. But if you're making all the decisions out of emotions, you don't like these minorities, and then everything else should fall with them. It's not.
It hurts everyone.
It hurts everyone.
All around.
Uh-huh.
And there has never been, at least in my opinion, any evidence that eliminating history helps history go forward. Like, you have to teach all of it, both the positive and the negative, in order for people to come to a better place in generations to evolve. You have to recognize all of it. Mm-hmm. You mentioned Harvard. They recently have made tuition free for anyone with income under $250,000 annually. What do you think about that?
It's a good move, because with all the confusion about affirmative action and all that, that's more specific to class. Mm-hmm. So that one targets a class.
It does.
People that are disadvantaged and doesn't look at their color.
One would say that that's what they should have done to begin with.
I think
and
that's a
then
better
we would have
system.
eliminated all this other mess.
Uh-huh. If they just based it on class, probably it will, it will last longer. But the moment you mention, put language like affirmative action, minority this,
then it's all a bubble.
It becomes,
Because, okay, was it Yale or Harvard that was sued by an Asian student based because of the affirmative action? Was it Harvard or Yale?
It was Harvard.
Harvard. And then they won. They ultimately won, right? It went up to the Supreme Court because they felt like they were being discriminated against, like that affirmative action was causing them to have less entry, right? Only to find out after everything, all the policies had changed, that they dropped in admission. They still didn't make it. Their admission was not increased.
Did not go up, wasn't it?
It didn't go up. And the question is, did they? And a lot of people there. You go out into the stratosphere. Now, this is very old news. This is I think this news came out earlier in the year. Did they step on their own feet, basically? Bite themselves in the butt. That's the term. By taking, okay, so there's this history in the U.S. where people with Asian lineage actually wanted to lean toward making themselves legally white, so as to distinguish themselves from Black individuals or enslaved individuals, and have a better footing. There's historical references to this in many places. For them to bring this action and then have the opposite effect of what they were intending. And when I say were they, I'm just meaning the people who brought the case, not the entire Asian population, because I realize that not all people bought into that they did have a better understanding of history and how affirmative action also helped them. But those individuals who brought the suit and agreed with them then had to realize that they did not get the result that they thought that they were going to get. Now what?
I don't know. They bring up another fight. So obviously, affirmative action wasn't the problem to begin with.
It was never the problem.
Because it didn't solve the problem. If anything, if the enrollment went down, maybe it helped them. I don't know. Or it made people more conscious that you have to be inclusive.
Right.
So it benefited other people, other races other than Black people.
And see, the thing is, I'm going to say something that is like, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. Affirmative action, I don't believe was ever meant to be a permanent solution, right? Mm-hmm. It was put in place to encourage, with the hope that eventually it would not be needed, right? Because people's mindsets would eventually change. They would, as Dr. Martin Luther King, judge by character and not by looks, right? And be fair, right? But inevitably, it became the standard because people didn't know how to be inclusive and fair. People did not know how to be inclusive and fair. And a part of that has to do with a lot of different things. People tend to hire individuals who look like them, the communities that they grow up with, people that they're comfortable with. Um, and sometimes it's not necessarily about the the person's race as much as it's about nepotism or like I just said, hiring those who look like you, um, because you're comfortable with that or you're familiar, right? Uh, and the same thing goes with school enrollment, but also Harvard has a lot of what's it called, legacy entries that they have. They have people, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what my point is. I was trying to play devil's advocate, but at the end of the day, they still have to fix something. Something has to be fixed in order to recognize those individuals who have the ability and are worthy of being in these spaces. But then there's also the thing is why do we make those spaces like the cream of the crop? Why are they such on a pedestal? Why are we putting those institutions on a pedestal when they are part of the problem?
Yeah, I don't know what happens there when they have a way to make themselves look that way.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody pays attention to them, and they sell themselves well. So everybody looks up to them. So
Yeah.
and they have their tentacles are so rich in that they are the people everywhere. This is why you have major institutions, the Supreme Court included, that you have a lot of people from similar schools sitting on benches, with a few exceptions. Or the higher percentage of politicians who make it, like to Congress, governors. So they have a network, and like you say, they will hire people who have something in common with them, went to a similar school, and it's changing, and it continues generation to generation.
And you know what, though?
And then they remain powerful.
It happens everywhere.
It does.
It happens in every aspect, even every community does this. And quite frankly, if I had the ability to hire my friends and family and get them into spaces, you know what I mean, so that we could all make money, I would do the same. I would be a big nepotism. I would. That part I understand. It's the part about being blatantly, not that it's good or bad. I really don't have a judgment on that, right? My judgment is when you see someone's race, like when you saw their resume, they were great, right? You really were excited about this person. And then the moment you see their face, racism, like suddenly you hate them or whatever because of whatever, the deep rootedness of you thinking you're better than someone.
Yeah.
That's what I have a problem with. That's what I have a problem with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like, because if you would have hired them, if they were white, then hire them anyway. Or if you would have hired them if they were black because you're black, then hire them anyway. Like, you know what I mean?
It's like this guy, I think he was from Sierra Leone, in Arizona. So, some of those people in Sierra Leone and Liberia were freed slaves. So they already had Western names, like English names. So when they went back there, because they were freed, and some of them were very young, and the only thing they knew was the new names that they had here. And I don't know what generation of slaves that were, but I went off a tangent there. But this guy has an English name, so he applied for a job. I think they weren't expecting him to be an African.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when he went to the interview, he just went and everybody's face just
Fell.
yeah.
Mm.
Like they weren't even interested in
Right.
the lady, and you could see that. So those are some of the things. You look at the resume, it meets everything.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see the face behind the resume.
Mm-hmm.
It's a color or features you don't like, or the sex you don't like.
Right.
Then everything is thrown in the trash.
Do you know what's...
That's when it becomes wrong.
That's what it does. That's when it becomes wrong.
Uh,
It's like, hey, look, you were so excited about this person, and the only reason, the sole reason you don't want them is because you saw them and they were different than you. That is not okay. So I think that if it boils down to we both have the exact same credentials, but you just like this person more, I can't fault you for that. Do you know what I mean? But if your if your HR page says, or whenever you post a job says, we do not discriminate and we believe in all these different things about fair and equity and exclude, whatever. But then you look at the board cabinet and where the people have their faces, nice smiling faces, and your top 10 are all one race, all one ethnicity, then I'm looking at you like, well, I don't know if you actually believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and don't try to get it on the slick by saying, oh, well, this person is disabled, so therefore that's even though it helps all of them, that's not the only way. It's like we could look at the surface level and say, hey, look, there's an issue here. So if you enjoyed today's podcast, please like, subscribe, share it, and I hope to see you on the next one. Leave a comment.